right. We're back from break. Continuing to read the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, and we are on page 86. We say meaning. Meaning means being satisfied. This is never, to the end, seeking to cheat, to display deportment, pureness, and with arrogance to show that one is of a high position, and thus greedily to seek profit. Also, it is not to show attachment to what the Tathagata says for reasons of expediency. This is arriving at the meaning. If a person abides in this, we may say that this person abides in Paramartha Satya. That is why we say that we base ourselves on the meaning of the sutras and not on the non-grasping of the meaning.
Non-grasping of the meaning relates to what is stated in the sutras, saying that all can be snuffed out. All is non-eternal, all is suffering, all is void, and all is selfless. This is non-grasping of the meaning. How so? Because such a person is not able to grasp the intended meaning, only the appearance of meaning. This causes all beings to fall into avicii hell. Why? Because of attachment, as a result of which a person does not grasp the meaning.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, because of attachment to your understanding of what those words mean, right? All is void, all is selfless, all is non-eternal. I mean, you think about the Heart Sutra and how, in it, Avalokiteshvara says no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue. This not able to grasp the intended meaning would be to read that and think, wow, you don't have eyes. Or like the idea of the nihilistic approach where, that not grasping the intended meaning would be, taking that literally, taking that to mean denial of the existence. And in that, you don't understand the sutras or the practice. The meaning is the thoughts. So like when you say no eyes, no ears, no nose, the eyes, ears, nose, all of those things only exist as a thought if you think of them, right? If you let that form arise. And so the idea of none of these things is the idea of abiding in supreme Bodhi, of there is no arising of form. So there is no nose, right? Anne, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I need to change my on-screen name there. I'll do that in a sec. Just to keep in mind for people that Supreme Bodhi, where in which there is no thought that arises, no eyes, no nose, no mouth, and so on. It is a tool. Supreme Bodhi is a tool to be used skillfully in order to not harm oneself or harm another living being, and then eventually to lead into nirvana or nirvana. And so the goal is not to have Supreme Bodhi whereby which you misuse it to think that you should never have a thought, but rather to use it wisely, in which you can choose exactly what thought you want to have and apply Supreme Bodhi in order to do that. All right, that's it for me. Thanks.
Thanks for clarifying. All right. A person might say that all gets extinguished, implying that the entrance of the Tathagata into nirvana constitutes a extinction.
A person say that all is non-eternal, meaning that even nirvana is non-eternal, and the same with suffering, void and non-self too. That is why we say that such is non-grasping of the import of the sutras. One cannot depend upon such. O good man, there might be a person who says that the Tathagata, pitying all beings, looks to what is apt for the occasion. As he knows what is right for the occasion, he speaks of what is light as heavy and what is heavy as light. The Tathagata knows that all his disciples are supplied with whatever they need by Dhanapatis. So the Buddha does not allow such persons to receive or keep menials, male or female, gold, silver, and gems, or to trade in impure things. When the disciples are not thus supplied by Dhanapatis, as when there is a famine and food is scarce, he allows them, for the purpose of establishing and protecting wonderful Dharma, to receive menials, male or female, gold, silver, vehicles, fields, houses, and rice, and to trade in what they have. Although one is allowed to receive and keep such things, these must be given by faithful Dhanapatis. Then all such four things are what can be depended upon. If the precepts, Abhidharma, and sutras do not differ from these four, one may depend upon these. If a person says that there are times and non-times, Dharma to be protected and Dharma not to be protected, and that the Tathagata allows all bhikkhus to receive and keep such impure things, such should not be depended upon. If the precepts, Abhidharma, and sutras agree with these, such three cannot be depended upon. I speak about these four things for the sake of all beings with fleshly eyes, but it is not for those who have the eye of wisdom. That is why I speak about these four things and say that they are the things to be depended upon. Dharma is dharmata, meaning is saying that the Tathagata is eternal and unchanging. Wisdom is knowing that all beings have Buddha nature. Grasping the meaning means being well versed in all Mahayana sutras.
Oh. Then Kasyapa said to the Buddha, O world-honored one, are we to depend upon the four kinds of people mentioned above? The Buddha said, it is thus, it is thus. O good man, what I say can be depended upon. Why? Because there are four maras. What are the four? It looks as though people hold the sutras and precepts of what Mara has said.
Bodhisattva Kasyapa said to the Buddha, O world-honored one, you, the Buddha, say that there are four maras. How can we distinguish what Mara says from what the Buddha says? There are people who behave as Mara says and those who follow what the Buddha says. How are we to know these? The Buddha said to Kasyapa, 700 years after my entering parinirvana, this Mara Papiyas will spoil my wonderful Dharma. It is like a hunter donning priestly garb. Mara Papiyas will also act thus. He will present himself in the form of a bhiksu, bhikshuni, upasaka, or upasika, or he may display himself as a Frotapana or any other grade up to our hat. Or he may display himself as a living Buddha. The created body of the king Mara will present itself as a non-created body, thus violating wonderful Dharma. When violating wonderful Dharma, this Mara Papiyas will say, the Bodhisattva once left Tushita heaven and came down to this earth, to the castle of Kapilavatstu, and lived in the palace of Sudhodana. By the conjoint carnal desires of father and mother, you gain birth and manhood. A man born amongst men can never be respected by all heaven and earth.
He will also say, in the long past, he underwent penance, offered up his head, eyes, marrow, state, wife, and children. Because of this, he attained enlightenment. As a result, he is now respected by man and God. Gandharva, Asura, Himnara, and Mahoraga. If any sutra or Vinayas say thus, know that they are nothing but what has come out of the mouth of Mara. O good man, the sutras and Vinayas may say it is already a long, long time ago that the Tathagata perfected enlightenment. He now attains enlightenment to save all beings. He thus shows himself as being born from the conjoint carnal desires of father and mother. He manifests thus just to accord with what applies in the world. Know that any such sutra or Vinaya is truly from the Tathagata. Any person who follows what Mara says is kindred of Mara. A person who follows the word of the Buddha is a bodhisattva.
Any person who says that it is unbelievable that the Buddha walked 7 steps in the 10 directions when he was born is one who but follows what Mara says. If a person says that the Tathagata walked 7 steps in the 10 directions when he was born, all this to manifest himself expediently, such a person stands on the sutras in Vinayas, which the Tathagata has delivered. Any person who follows what Mara says is kindred to Mara. Anyone who follows what the Buddha has said is a bodhisattva.
So let's just remember that Mara is a representation of desire, a representation of a demon that is desire. And just another reminder that demons are just thoughts, literally, not any specific kind of thought. In Zen Buddhism, when you hear the mention of demons, it's just thought. So when we're talking about how do I know whether a bodhisattva is of Mara or is of the Buddha, it really has to do with your ability to practice for yourself. So if you're going around idolizing people that teach, that would be that desire, that would be not practicing, not understanding the meaning. And I would say would be what he's saying, which is kindred to Mara, because you're just going around trying to satiate a desire for something, for meaningfulness, for the aesthetic of Zen or Japanese culture, or just to say that you were a student of Buddhism. So really, the way that we can protect ourselves from Mara, or desire, or these demons, which are thoughts, is to practice for ourselves is to take this up and experience it on our own for our own good. So when we're reviewing these sutras and we're talking about how to practice, really take it to heart that it's up to you to apply it yourself. And that's really the way that we avoid following Mara, avoid ending up with a teacher that is, as he's saying here, disguised. When you're starting out, I understand that it can be tumultuous, it can be confusing. And so I guess this is good. It's good to see the signs of a person who is teaching but might not practice in and of themselves, the things that they say that contradict the sutras, the things that they say that aren't based out of the Buddha's literal actual teaching, right? And the Buddha does echo this in the Sarangama Sutra as well, which we've read through already. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, there might be we might have a recording of that already, but if not, we'll come back to it. So I just wanted to clarify what is meant by Mara, what is meant by, how do we avoid Mara, and just if there's any confusion, please feel free to ask questions. Or a person might say that when the Bodhisattva was born, his father, the king, sent men to the heavenly shrines, at which the gods, on seeing him, all came down and worshipped him. Hence, he is the Buddha. Then someone will commit slander and say, heaven appeared first and the Buddha later. How could heaven worship the Buddha? Whatever is said like this is nothing but the word of Mara Papiyas. If any sutra says that the Buddha went to where the devas were, and that all such gods as Mahasvara, Great Brahma, and Sakro Devanindra, folding their hands and touching the Buddha's feet with their heads, worshipped him, such a sutra or Vinaya is from the Buddha. Any person who follows what Mara says is the kindred of Mara. Any person who follows what the Buddha says is a bodhisattva.
If any sutra or Vinaya says that the bodhisattva, when as yet a crown prince, had wives all around out of carnal desire, lived in the depths of the palace, and fully tasted the five desires and enjoyed himself, such as a sutra or Vinaya of Mara Papiyas. Any sutra or Vinaya that says the bodhisattva has long since abandoned all desires, wife and son, and did not receive the wonderful desires of Trayastrimsa, heaven, but abandoned these as though they were spittle and tears. How could he have human desires? He shaved his head, became a priest, and practiced the way. Such are the sermons of the Buddha. Any person who follows the sutras and Vinayas of Mara is the kindred of Mara. Any person who follows the sutras and Vinayas of the Buddha is a bodhisattva.
If a person says that the Buddha in Sravasti at Jetavana Vihara permitted all bhikkhus what they wanted to have, such as male or female servants, pages, cows, sheep, elephants, horses, donkeys, mules, hens, cats, gold, silver, beryl, pearls, crystals, musara, galba, agate, coral, amber, horseshoe shell, jade, copper, or iron kettles, big or small copper basins, that they were allowed to till the land, sow seeds, and plant, sell, or barter things, that they were permitted to store rice, that the Buddha pitied the bhikkhus and allowed them all such things out of his compassion, all such sutras and vinayas are those of Mara.
Or someone might say that the Buddha stayed in Sravasti at the Jetavana Vihara, where the Nirdara demon lived, and relative to a Brahmin called Oku, and King Prasenajit said, O bhikshus, you should not receive gold, silver, beryl, crystals, pearls, masara, galva, agate, coral, amber, horseshoe shell, jade, male or female domestic servants, pages, boys, girls, cows, sheep, elephants, horses, donkeys, mules, hens, pigs, cats, dogs, or other animals, iron or copper kettles, big or small basins, seats of various colors and beds, or such necessary things, or activities of life as horses, houses, tilling the soil, sowing seed, selling things in the marketplace, making meals with your own hands, polishing or pounding with your own hands, doing incantations for a living, training hawks, looking at the constellations, working charms, guessing at the waxing and waning of the moon, telling a man or woman's fortune, saying good or bad things about a person's dreams, guessing or foretelling and saying that this is a man or woman, or saying that this is not a male or this is not a female, talking about the 64 marks of excellence, or saying that there are 18 dharanis by which people can be led astray, or talking about any of the arts, any worldly things, using powdered incense, purna, smearing incense, the hands and body to give off a pleasant odor. Smearing incense, fumigating incense, using various kinds of lace, the arts of hairdressing, cunningly cheating and flattering, and thus greedily seeking profit, loving stupid and noisy quarters, joking and laughing, and preaching. Greedily eat fish, make poisons, and rub in fragrant oils. They possess gem parasols and leather footgear. They make boxes, chests, fans, and various pictures and statues. They store up cereals and rice, big and small varieties of wheat and beans, and various melons. They come near kings, princes, ministers, and all kinds of females, laugh loudly or sit silently. They entertain doubts regarding all things, talk a lot and talk carelessly. They like to wear good clothes, which may be long or short, lovely or unlovely, good or bad. They themselves praise all such things in the presence of the giver. They frequent and roam about these dirty quarters, the places where one finds taverns, prostitutes, and gamblers, all of which places I do not allow the bhikshus to be in. They should give up seeking the way. They must be turned back to worldly life and used for labor. For example, this is like the tar in the paddy field, which has to be uprooted so as not to be found anymore. Know that what is prohibited in the sutras and vinayas constitutes the injunctions of the Tathagata. Any person who follows the word of Mara is the kindred of Mara. Anyone who follows the word of the Buddha is a bodhisattva.
Or such a person might say, the bodhisattva goes to the temple of the devas to make offerings to such as Brahma, Mahasvara, Skanda, and Katyayana. Why? He enters there merely to conquer the devas. That things can never be other than this. If it is said, even if the bodhisattva gets into arguments with the Tirthikas, He cannot know of their deportments, sayings, and arts, and he cannot cause quarreling servants to come to terms. He cannot be respected by males or females, kings or ministers. He does not know how to prepare medicines. That is why he is called Tathagata. Whatever he knows is what is wicked. Also, the Tathagata sees neither enemy nor friend. His mind is all equal. One may take a sword and cut him, or one could smear incense over his body, and he would not have any sense of gain or loss. He sits in the middle. That is why we say Tathagata. Any sutra that says this is one of Mara's.
Or a person might say, the Bodhisattva behaves thus. He goes into the houses of other teachings, teaches them to abandon domestic life and practice the way. To come to know of deportment and manners, he teaches them to know of what is written and how arts are performed, and how one quells arguments in disputes. He is the highest of all people, boys and girls, people of the royal harem, the royal consorts, ordinary people, rich persons, Brahmins, kings, ministers, or the poor. Furthermore, he is respected by these, and he also knows all such things. He may come across various views of life, and yet he does not entertain any loving thought. This is like the lotus, which does not become soiled by defilement. In order to save beings, he practices various expedients and lives a worldly life. Any such sutras and vinayas are the sermons of the Tathagata. One who follows what Mara says is kindred to Mara. Anyone who follows what the Buddha says is a great bodhisattva.
Or a person might say, the Tathagata expounded the sutras and Vinaya to me. Of all the wicked sins, those light and heavy, and the Thulatthaya are all grave. In our Vinaya, we do not commit these to the end. I have long put forward such a law, but you do not believe it. How could I throw away my own Vinaya and come to your Vinaya? Your Vinaya is nothing but what Mara says. Ours is what the Buddha says. The Tathagata has already given the 9 types of formulations of Dharma. Such 9 formulations constitute our sutras and Vinaya. I have never once heard of a sentence or word of the Vayapulya Sutras, where in all the innumerable sutras and Vinayas we come across the name of Vayapulya Sutra. In none of these have we ever heard of the 10 types of sutras. If there are any such, they must surely be the work of Devadatta. Devadatta is a wicked person. In order to destroy good teachings, he makes up the Vayapulya. We do not believe in any such sutras. This is what the sutra says. Why? Because they say this and that about the Buddhist doctrine. All such things are stated in your sutras. Ours do not contain any such. In our sutras and Vinayas, the Tathagata says, after my entering nirvana, there may come about an evil ages. No, I read that wrong. After my entering nirvana, there may come about in evil ages distorted sutras and Vinayas. These are the so-called Mahayana Sutras. In ages to come, there will be all such wicked bhiksus. I then say, There are further the Vyapulya Sutras, other than the 9 types of sutras. A person who thoroughly accepts the signification says that he well understands the sutras and Vinayas, segregates himself from all that is impure, and is so delicate and pure that one could well compare him to the full moon.
If a person says the Tathagata gave explanations for each sutra in Vinaya, as numerous as the sands of the river Ganges, but our Vinaya does not contain any such, there is none such. If there are, how is it that the Tathagata does not expound them in my Vinaya? So I cannot believe in them. If a person speaks thus, know that this person is committing a sin. A person might further say, such sutras in Vinaya I shall well uphold. Why? Because they are the cause of good doctrine, of being satisfied, of desiring little, of cutting off illusions, and one gains wisdom and nirvana. Any person who says so is no disciple of mine. If a person says, the Tathagata gave us the Vaipulya Sutras so as to save beings, such a person is my true disciple. Any person who does not accept the Vaipulya Sutras is no disciple of mine. Such a person is not one who has become a priest because of the Buddhist teaching. Such a person is one wicked in mind and is none but a disciple of the Tirthikas. Such sutras and Vinayas, as mentioned above, are what the Buddha gave out. If not thus, they are nothing other than what Mara says. Any person who follows what Mara says is a kindred of Mara. Anyone who follows what the Buddha says is a bodhisattva.
So Vyapulya Sutras are just the Mahayana Sutras. Also next, O good man, if it is said, since the Tathagata is not perfect in innumerable virtues, he is non-eternal and must change. He abides in the all void and expounds non-self. This is not the way of the world. Any such sutra or Vinaya is of Mara. If a sutra says the true enlightenment of the Tathagata is beyond knowing, also he is perfect in innumerable asamkayas of virtues. Therefore he is eternal, and there can be no change. Any such sutra or Vinaya is what the Buddha said. Any person who follows what Mara says is Mara's kindred. Any person who follows what the Buddha says is a bodhisattva. I kind of also want to look up what was the word? Oh, I'm just curious about Vinaya. Okay, so Vinaya is essentially like a zendo. Very similar. It's the framework and the procedures, like our liturgy, that allow the Sangha to come together. Okay, sorry. Just curious.
Or a person might say, there is in the world a bhiksu who, not committing any parajika, is held by the world to have transgressed, like cutting down the tala tree. But in truth, this bhiksu did not transgress. Why not? I always say, the case of one who commits any one of the parajikas is like cutting a stone in two. It can never become one. It can never again become one. If a person says that he has obtained what supersedes man's power, he commits parajika. Why? Because he has not actually attained anything, yet pretends to have done so. Any such person retrogresses from the world of man and the doctrine. This is a parajika. There is a bhiksu who desires little, feels contented, upholds the precepts, is pure, and sits in a quiet place. The king or minister sees this bhiksu and says that he has attained arhatship, steps forward, praises, respects, and worships him. Also, he says, such a great master will attain unsurpassed enlightenment, having thus abandoned life. The bhiksu hears this and says to the king, I have truth to tell, not yet attained the fruition of a brahmana. O king, please do not speak to me about the dharma of non-satisfaction. If one acquiesces when told that one will reach as far as unsurpassed enlightenment, this is nothing but not knowing contentment. If I were to accept your statement and agree, I should surely purchase the reproaches of all Buddhists. To feel contented is the virtue that is praised by all Buddhists. That is why I mean pleasingly to practice the way to the end of my life and attain a state in which I can feel satisfied. Also, to feel satisfied is to know that I have definitely attained the fruition of the way. You, king, say that I have attained it. I do not accept your word. Thus I am satisfied. Then the king said, O great teacher, you truly have attained arhatship and do not differ from the Buddha.
Then the king made known to all those in and out, and to those of the royal harem, and to the royal spouse, that this person had attained arhatship. As a result, all who heard this felt respect, made offerings, and honored him. Such a person is pure in his deeds, hence he makes all others gain great benefit. And truly, this bhiksu did not commit any parajika. Why not? Because he went before others, entertained joy in his own mind, praised and made offerings. How could any such bhiksu have committed a sin? If it is said that this person has sinned, know that such a sutra is from Mara. Also, there is a bhiksu who speaks about the great depths of the undisclosed sutras of the Buddha, saying that all beings have Buddha nature, that by this nature they cut off the innumerable billion illusions and thereby attain unsurpassed enlightenment, except for the Ichantika. Then the king or minister listens and says, O bhiksu, have you attained Buddhahood or not? Do you have Buddha nature or not? The bhiksu replies, I must have Buddha nature within me. I cannot, however, be clear as to whether I shall attain it or not. The king says, O great one, if you do not become an Ichantika, there is no doubt that you will attain Buddhahood. Bhiksu says, yes, it must truly be as you, king, say. This person says that he must surely have Buddha nature, yet he does not commit parajika. Also, there is a bhikkhu who at the time he is ordained thinks to himself, I shall assuredly attain unsurpassed enlightenment. Such a man may not yet accomplish unsurpassed enlightenment, but he gains incalculable, boundless weal, and it is difficult to appraise it. If anyone says that this person has committed parajika, then there cannot be any person who has not committed parajika. Why not? Because once 80 million kalpas ago, I had already segregated myself from all defilement. I had little desire, felt contented, was accomplished in deportment, practiced the unsurpassed dharma of the Tathagata, and myself surely knew that I had Buddha nature. Hence I attained unsurpassed enlightenment, and I can be called Buddha. And there is great compassion. Such a sutra or vinaya is a sermon of the Buddha. Any person who cannot act in accordance is a kindred of Mara. One who acts in accordance is a great bodhisattva.
Or a person might say, there cannot be anything such as the 4 grave offenses, the 13 samgavasesas, the 2 aniyatans, the 30 naisargika prayasitikas, 91 payatikas, 4 ways of repentance, various ways of learning, 7 ways of adhikarana samatha, and also there can be no stulatyayas, no 5 deadly sins, and no ekantikas. Should a bhikkhu violate all such philas and fall into hell, all Tirthikas would be born in heaven. Why? Because they do not have any precepts to transgress against. This shows that the Tathagata means to frighten people. That is why he gives out these precepts. The Buddha has said that when the bhikkhus desire to satisfy their carnal desires, they should take off their priestly garb, put on worldly dress, and do so. A person might also think that carnal, lustful desire is no sin, that even in the days of the Tathagata there was a bhikkhu who satisfied carnal lust and yet attained right emancipation, or that there was one who after death got born into heaven, that all such things have a precedent, and that it is not just what I alone am doing. One may commit the 4 grave offenses, the 5 deadly sins, and all impure acts, and even then one can attain true and right emancipation. The Tathagata may say that if one commits Jaskrta acts, one falls into hell and will remain there for 8 million years, which is the number of years of the sun and the moon of Trayastrimsa, heaven. But this is what the Tathagata says to frighten people. They say that no difference exists between the grave and light, the parajika and the daskrta. All these Vinaya teachers falsely say that all these were instituted by the Buddha. Know definitely that these were not instituted by the Buddha. All such sutras and Vinayas that say thus are from Mara.
Or a person might say that if one transgresses against even the smaller or minutest of all precepts, an evil fruit will come forth, and that there is no limit to the number of karmic consequences. Realizing this, one should guard oneself like the tortoise, who hides his 6 limbs in his shell. If there is any person versed in the Vinaya who says one transgresses, but no karmic consequences ensue, one should not approach such a person, as already indicated by the Buddha. One thing overstepped, this is Mursavada. If one sees no afterlife, there is no sin that will not be committed. So if you don't understand the cause and effect of, karma is just cause and effect, if you don't understand that essentially the thoughts that you allow to continue to exist will continue to arise, or if you are denying that, then the whole premise of the practice becomes irrelevant to you.
For this reason, one should not come near to such a person. What is pure in this Buddhist teaching is thus. And could it be that one who has violated the Sula Taya the Samga Vasesa teaching is thus? Oh, wait. And could it be that one who has violated the Sula the Samgava Sesa and the Parajika can pass as not having sinned. Because of this, one should be on guard and protect such dharma. If not guarded against, where can there be any prohibition? I now say in the sutras, for any commissions of the 4 grave offenses or any small duskritas, one should take pain to remedy such. If one does not guard against the prohibitions, what possibility can there be of seeing the Buddha nature?
So yeah, this is like saying, like, I'm going to get angry so I can finish moving the small shed, like from the Dharma talk, right? And if I don't, see that allowing myself to get angry, allowing those unskillful thoughts to continue and to turn into emotion and action, if I don't see that that was unskillful and unproductive, then you can't, like, you have to see, in order to practice, you have to see that those things are unproductive. To deny that things are unproductive is to deny the practice, essentially. I mean, if I just go on and say, I'm fine, I don't need to work on that, which we all do to some extent because of our skillfulness. But if we do that and we don't rectify, we don't work on, okay, I understand that it's a thought. It's a thought that made me feel that way. And me continuing to think that thought is what made it become a feeling and an action. And this is the path, this is the path to skillfulness. This is the path of Supreme Bodhi, and I'm going to use it in order to remedy that offense. If we don't do that, then we are not practicing correctly. Anne, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, that is the value of the Dhamma Pamita, the sharing.
Yes.
Yeah, because then it causes you to set yourself on the path and practice correctly, because you are sharing your practice, and that's what does it. That really helps. I don't know
Yeah.
how, if you're not participating in your Sangha by doing some kind of a Dharma sharing, then it's a lot harder.
It is. It's like a buddy system, you know. A lot of people use the buddy system in fitness or in wellness in order to keep themselves honest, and it's very similar. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, so when we're talking about offenses, it's more of offenses in terms of the thoughts that you allow to exist. And we understand that our actions are born of feelings, which are born of thoughts. So it all comes down to this practice of watching our thoughts. And essentially, that's it. I mean, so we can commit these offenses. And really the important part here is one should take pain to remedy such. Take pain as in when I'm going out and doing something I'm excited about, like the idea of moving the shed, I'm going to take extra good care, you know, to watch my thoughts. So to take that pain, really effort, to make that effort to watch my thoughts very carefully and not continue to do something that's going to contribute to that thought rising again. Right. And essentially what that means is I'm going to go out there and practice having Supreme Bodhi as I'm doing the task. I can't remember who was reading. Sorry. It's my turn. I know now. All beings possess the Buddha nature. Only by observing the precepts can one see it. When one sees the Buddha nature, one attains unsurpassed enlightenment. In the 9 types of sutras, there is no Vayapulya Sutra. That is why they do not speak about the Buddha nature. Although these sutras do not refer to it, there is assuredly the Vayapulya in them. One who speaks thus is my true disciple. And this is very much a reflection of when I started practicing and I didn't know Supreme Bodhi. And I was just sitting thinking that, you know, it was about being calm and that enlightenment was just eventually it'll happen to me. I would read all of these sutras and take them at face value. And now that I know what Supreme Bodhi is, now that we know how to teach it expediently, we can read these sutras and see that it is the Buddha restating what is Supreme Bodhi just in a bunch of different ways. So this very much is reflective of in the 9 types of sutra, there is no Vayapulya Sutra, but there is no the Mahayana, the teaching of what is true enlightenment. And although these sutras do not refer to it, there is assuredly the Vayapulya in them. So you can see how it becomes a reflection of the practice when you know how to practice.
Bodhisattva Kasyapa said to the Buddha, O world-honored one, we do not see in the 9 types of sutras any reference to beings possessing the Buddha nature, which you say they have. If we say that they have this, might it not be that we are guilty of infringing the Parajika? The Buddha said, O good man, they do not violate the Parajika. For example, O good man, if any person says that in the great ocean there are only the 7 gems, not the 8, that person has not sinned. If a person says that there is no mention of Buddha nature in the 9 types of sutra, there cannot be any commission of sin. Why not? I say that in the Mahayana ocean of great wisdom, there is the Buddha nature. As the two vehicles do not know or see, there can be no talk of having committed any sin, even if they say that it does not exist. Such a thing is what the Buddha alone knows, and what Travakas and Pratyeka Buddhas cannot know. O good man, not having ever heard of the great depths of the undisclosed Dharma of the Tathagata, how can a person be expected to know of the existence of the Buddha nature? What is the undisclosed storehouse? It is none other than the Bodhi Sutras. O good man, there may be Vertikas who talk about the eternal self or the not is of the self. The case is not thus with the Tathagata. He says that there is the self, or at other times, that there is not. This is the middle path.
Yeah, so you can see again a reflection of ignorance, that innocent ignorance of just not knowing is not an offense because you don't know. And so when we're looking at our thoughts and what to weed out, right? We all do things occasionally that maybe we feel guilty, maybe it's like an instant regret type of thing. And when we reflect back on it, it's like, I didn't know any better. It would be like, I don't know, trying to come up with a like, what can you have innocent ignorance about? Oh, Anne, I see your, Takeo, I see your hand is up.
For example, when we caught the rats and we had to transport them to a wild area,
Mhm.
whether or not it was the right place for them was something we could not have known. But
True. Yeah.
so a lot of it has to do with uncertainty. When you do something you have regret for because you were ignorant at the time, it's because you didn't know. And so you cannot hold yourself responsible to that which you did not know, because at the time it seemed it to be skillful.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And you know, on the same path as that, we can't hold these other vehicles, like he's saying here, other vehicles in sin or offense because they don't know the Mahayana vehicle, because people have never been taught or never understood or never read the, you know, Shrangama Sutra. They don't know what Supreme Bodhi is. They sit there and they think that they are meditating. Maybe they are meditating, but they're not meditating the way the Buddha teaches us. Those people are all innocently ignorant, right? And so we should not go out into the world and condemn those people because they haven't done anything in offense. It's all ignorance. So, all right, it is 5:30. So let's switch gears into our Sangha sharing.